Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Deadbolt X from Lock Studios. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about the Dreamscape version 3 from Lock Studios. So this Dreamscape colorway is an updated version of the purple colorway that they had in the past. This time there's 3 different colors. You have blue, you have purple, and you have pink. So first up, I'm going to talk about some of the aesthetic features of this kendama before I get into how it actually plays. First off, with the paint, you're going to notice a kind of sparkle to the tama that is kind of in theme with that Dreamscape starry design. You have a white tracking dot on the top of the tama that has kind of a dark blue border around it. You then get to the main kind of baby blue color of the tama. You get those Dreamscape stars on the top of the tama as well to kind of tie this design together. You of course have a kind of 70-30 colorway where it gets back into the dark blue, and then you finish things off with a nice white tracking ring around the bevel. The tama itself is a 62mm tama with a 25mm bevel. The tama's beach, and it has the 2023 anti-skid sticky clear. In terms of the bevel, I think this is the largest bevel I've ever played. I'll compare it to a 2-up here, and it's a little bit bigger than a 2-up. Previously, the 2-up was the biggest bevel that I've played. So this might be the biggest bevel out there right now. It's at least the biggest one that I've played. The Ken is full maple. You have kind of the starry Dreamscape design engraved in the Ken down the sword, and then you have the Lock Studios engraving as well. So I'm going to go through a bunch of categories of tricks and then give it a rating out of 10 at how well it performs for that trick. We're going to start things off with Luners. For Luners, I gave this Deadbolt X a 10 out of 10. This is easily the best lunar kendama I've played, and what makes it even more crazy is that it's just kind of like a maple Ken. I feel like sometimes when you're looking for a really good lunar kendama, you look for like maybe like a purple heart Ken, or a Ken that has like a stripe of purple heart or ebony or something in the cups, you know, something to add some weight to it, especially in that cup region to make it really balanced. But this has none of that. It's full maple, and it just slaps Luners insanely well. A big reason for that is just how big these cups are. These are probably the biggest cups I've ever played. They're bigger than the 2-up. You'll see the big cup is bigger than the 2-up. The small cup is bigger than the 2-up. And while I said it does sacrifice some weight because it's not like purple heart or anything, it's just maple, this still is a pretty hefty Ken. This Ken is 92 grams. The tama is 90 grams, so it's pretty weight matched. But 92 grams is pretty heavy for a maple Ken. For taps, I gave this a 9 out of 10. Right out of the box, it didn't feel great. You probably heard in my unboxing that I said the taps weren't feeling great. The one thing you got to do with this kendama is you got to make sure you have some sort of sticky note, maybe beeswax under the cups, because the cups do come pretty loose. There is quite a bit of space between the sword and the cups. So just throwing something under there to kind of fill up that space definitely helps, and it does make those taps feel a little bit better. You don't get that loose cup sensation in the middle of a tap line. The Ken shape itself allows the Ken to come around pretty easily. Like, I don't feel like I have to put a lot of pressure into these taps. I got 4-4-4-4 tap on this. I've been close to getting 6-6. So I think taps are actually pretty solid on this. For Ken flips, I gave this a 9 out of 10. The biggest thing for Ken flips is that ring. You probably know by now, but this shape has a very unique ring to the point where it's like not very sharp or defined at all. And I actually like that because it feels a lot better in the hand when you're hucking those Ken flips. It doesn't hurt. I can do trip Kens for as long as I want, and it's not gonna really bruise my hand at all. And it's kind of the same thing with goons as well. You can huck those goons. Yeah, it's still gonna hurt a little bit because it is a piece of wood smacking your hand pretty hard, but having that softer ring really helps with just softening that impact. Overall, I'm just able to huck triples, quads, and 5s with this shape really easily. In terms of stalls, I gave this a 9 out of 10. This is probably the most surprising aspect to me. It is, of course, a beach tama, and it is a maple Ken, so it is a pretty solid setup for stalls in terms of the woods. That beech wood is a little bit softer, so it sits nicely, but I didn't anticipate just how good this would actually be for stalls, and I think a lot of that just comes down to how big this bevel is. This bevel is so big that it gives you so much room for error, and it just sits so nicely for ring stalls, for stilts, for handles especially. The handle rim itself is pretty wide as well, so I feel like this thing really excels at handles. But like I said, the wings are surprisingly good. Birds are solid. pretty much any stall you can think of except for rings are pretty solid. I mean, if the shape had a better ring, that would probably be a 10 out of 10 for stalls, but that's the only thing holding it back. But again, not many people do rings, so you're not really losing that much. It can do the most important stalls pretty effortlessly. For slings, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I don't do slings that much, but from what I can tell, it slings fast enough. It does the job. For tracking, I actually gave this a 10 out of 10. Now, this is kind of a weird category because pretty much every kendama has good tracking nowadays, but something about a white sliver around the bevel is just perfect for tracking. It just stands out so well. Another factor affecting this is just how big that bevel is too. Maybe not necessarily the paint design, but that bevel is just so big that those stunt fasts are really, really easy on this. Any sort of spike trick you're going to be a lot more consistent with. So you kind of have that big bevel and a good tracking paint design to thank for that. For paint, I gave this a 9 out of 10 in terms of the actual stickiness and quality of the paint. It's crazy sticky right out of the box. It does lose that a little bit, and it kind of wears into a more like manageable stickiness to the point where you can adjust it well. I've definitely played some like softer paints in the past. This doesn't really feel like a soft paint. It feels a little bit harder. Something like the Sosu Sticky Clear felt a little bit softer, but this has a nice kind of just like classic hard feel to that. In terms of overall feel, I gave this a 10 out of 10. I mean, you guys might be thinking I'm over exaggerating how good this kendama is, but this is seriously one of the best feeling kendamas I've ever played. It's just the ultimate like grinders kendama. It just has all the aspects that I want a kendama to have, you know? It's not doing anything too risky. Like, yeah, the shape is a little bit unique, but it's going for the stuff that works. It's a maple ken. Maple's my favorite wood, kind of regarded as the best wood. Beech tama, kind of regarded as the best combo with a maple ken. Everything is bumped up, so everything is just pretty easy on this. It's a nice proportion to the ken. It doesn't feel too bottom heavy. It doesn't feel too bulky or too thin. It's just kind of a nice middle point, and I really, really enjoy playing this thing. It can do pretty much everything pretty well. So I averaged all those scores, and this kendama came out to an overall score of 9.25 out of 10. This is probably the best kendama I've played in a while. Maybe the best shape I've played ever. I know that's kind of a crazy statement, but this is seriously one of the best kendamas out right now, if not the best. Obviously, I haven't tried every kendama, but from what I've tried, this is my favorite that I've played. It just, again, it does everything so well. There's really not many complaints I have, other than the ring. That's really the only thing. But again, who does rings? You know, who does rings? In the short time that I've had this, like a week, I've already experienced quite a bit of unlocks. I did double stilt tray regular and inward. I did 4-4-4-4 tap, like I said. Just so many things that I've landed on this already, and I'm just super excited to continue to play this. So yeah, there you go. There's my review of the Locked Studios Deadbolt X. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.